or maybe also introduce yourself. Probably very brief or very short introduction of yourself, like your name and where you are from when I call your name, and tell me if I read your name correctly, because I'm still having troubles pronouncing Indonesian names. So first, Fira, maybe I tell me about yourself.
Oh, I think that's me, right? So my name, it's pronounced Vera, like as in Ferrari, that one. So I'm from Indonesia and I live in Center Java. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Fera. Next, Gesang.
Well, my name is Gesang Kurnan Mustafa, but you can call me Gesang or simple. And I'm from Jakarta, Indonesia, actually.
All right, thank you, Gesang. Next is Putri. Can you tell me about yourself, Putri? Oh, maybe she's not available at the moment. How about Royce? Maybe you can tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Mr. You can call me Rois. I'm from East Java, Surabaya. And yeah.
All right, thank you, Royce. And then the next, Wendy. Maybe you can also introduce yourself. Are you speaking at the moment? Because we can't hear you, Wendy. Maybe you have mic problems. Okay, probably later. Maybe you can follow up. And Sunshine, maybe you can introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Feliz. I come from somewhere, southern Philippines. It's nice to meet you.
What's your name again?
Spanish.
Okay.
Spanish.
Okay. Where are you from?
I'm from the southern of Philippines.
Oh, Southern Philippines. Okay. Nice to meet you. Then Amrul, maybe you can also introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Amrul. I'm from Bogor, West Java. Today I'm not feeling really well, so I think I'm gonna listen the discussion. Yeah, thank you very much.
All right. Noted. Thank you, Amrul. And then who else? Who else is not called? Jawid just entered the discussion. Maybe you can also introduce yourself, Jawid, if you have a microphone out there. Just tell us how can we call you or where you're from. Jawid, can you introduce yourself? All right, maybe just later to follow up. So yeah, thank you for attending our OTA Sunday discussion, weekend discussion. So I'm actually glad that I will be given this opportunity to talk about the topic wherein I'm passionate and enthusiastic about. I've been studying Indonesian politics for probably for the past 3 years, and I'm currently staying here in Indonesia, Jakarta, to be precise, and I think most of the places where you are at now, I've been there, from Bogor to, you know, Surabaya to Bali. I've been there. So I'm hoping that we can have a fruitful and worthwhile conversation. Probably this some informal discussion. This is not really academic. So this is like, you know, just throwing ideas in this online discussion, and probably we can have something to learn about. By the way, you can call me Majelo. I'm from the Philippines. Yeah. So yeah, it's nice to be invited here in this OTA discussion, wherein I learn from my friend Sunshine. So maybe I can start now the discussion. Wait, let me. And I'm also hoping, if you want to say something, just raise your hand so that you can be called. I am encouraging, you know, participation, because, you know, 2 hours of nonstop talking is probably hard, and there are some segments in the slides that I will ask, what are your thoughts about it? And there's no discrimination of ideas. We are we are not anti-intellectuals. So whoever has the ideas, perspectives, you can even criticize me or my ideas that I'm throwing here. So you can tell any one of you can raise their hands and, you know, share their thoughts about the subject matter. There's no, you know, discrimination about on ideas here. So this is our topic for tonight. The battle against reason, how anti-intellectualism shapes electoral politics. So I think I need to dissect word by word in this on this, you know, subject, on this title, because reason is mentioned here. So probably I was thinking, in today's age, reason is not too common, right? Because people decide based on their subjectivities, right? Based on their emotions, based on feelings. Even in the elections, right? Even in the elections, right? We don't majority, there are some, I'm not saying all, or I'm not generalizing, probably there are people who are deciding going to the election polls just because probably they are moved by emotions, because of personality politics, right? Like probably some candidate um use some personality politics, they use religion, or they use identity card. What else? They use their personality as a kind, charismatic, um, what else? Respectful, you know, person or individual. That's why people likes them. So they are not the reason of why they elect that leader. I'm not naming names here. The reason why they elect that leader is probably because of emotions. Probably they pity that candidate, or they are sympathetic. So they are not using reason for their choice. And then anti-intellectualism, we will define that later. And then the next one, electoral politics. These are the terms that I used in the title. So we will talk about it later. This is actually, this topic, I make it broad. I make it broad. This is not only about politics but also elections. I This is also about society, also about what is happening in the community. So anti-intellectualism, or, you know, the allergic, you are allergic to reason or to logic, is not only happening in the political scene, but also probably even inside your households, even inside your classrooms at schools, in your universities, even in your circle of friends. Probably this is also present. It's not only in elections, okay? So yeah, we will move forward. So this is our agenda for tonight. I break it down to 4. Introduction to session, where we are now headed. And then the second agenda is the what's the deal with anti-intellectualism. We will define it and probably look at it. Like, what is it? Because probably most of you do not know about it, or probably just have a slight idea about it. And then the third, its impact and significance on politics and society. It's not really this political, okay? Because you might think that the elections just happened and probably we will talk about number 1, number 2, number 3. No, we will not talk about nomor satu, dua, tiga. No, we will talk about the generalized concepts of politics here. And then the next one, the lastly, is conclusion. Actually, in the conclusion, I already attended some of OTA English sessions before. I already forgot when was the last time, but most of the time, the speakers are saying these are the pros, these are the cons of, this topic. But on my part, this is just a disclaimer. There's no pros and cons of anti-intellectualism because this is really a negative, this is really a negative concept. If you don't like reason, so that's a negative thing, right? Why in the world you don't like reason? Why do you like getting information from TikTok over, some reasonable ideas? So I'm now I'm now defining anti-intellectualism as a negative concept here. Just a disclaimer so that you will not be shocked why I am so biased that I'm against anti-intellectualism. So introduction, just to give you by the way, if you want to understand something, just raise your hand or you want to say something. So what is anti-intellectualism? So I define it as generalized hostility and mistrust of experts and intellectuals. Wait a minute, it's a bit hot here. I will just minus the AC. Okay. So with anti-intellectualism, I define it as that. So if a person or an individual is not trusting experts, or they are angry or mad about the academia, about knowledge, they'd rather use their emotions and feelings. So that is anti-intellectualism in its very broad definition. So people tend to be persuaded by speakers they see as knowledgeable. Of course, probably all of us, we look up to experts, right? Probably to our teachers, our lecturers, those media people that we can see in the television, those who are saying their opinions in social media. Most of the time we tend to look to them because they are knowledgeable, right? So we follow what's their opinion, we follow what's their perspectives on that specific topic. May it be on health, politics, culture, trends, about anything. But most of the time, even people knows that these people are experts and knowledgeable on the matter, they don't really tend to agree with them because they don't see, they probably most of the time it doesn't fit their interest. So that's the thing about this topic, because most people don't some people don't really how do you say that, most people do not really despite they know that these experts are saying the facts, they don't really agree with them to some extent because sometimes their feelings are hurt. So I think that's what I'm telling the point here. So some of the groups such as ideological conservatives, populists, and some religious fundamentalists and the like may see experts as threatening to their social identities. So I think I've now laid down some parts here, and I see that society right now have reasoning crisis, and most of the people now have this vulnerability to deception. Like they see things the way they are. They see reality as something that what they want to see, not really what is the reality in front of them, but they are shaping reality based on what's on their mind, what they want to think about reality, not really what's happening on real life. So the way people see reality is how they shape the way they see it. It's not really what reality is in front of them, because the reason why they shape the kind of reality they want to see, so that it's convenient for them. It's, it's kind of good to their feeling that, oh, in this reality we are accepted. And even the experts are saying this, that this A, B, C, but they don't follow it because it's threatening their identity. May it be ethnicity, religion, or color of their skin, or whatnot. So moving forward, I think I will open the discussion now. Since we are quite few here, so I guess most of us can talk. So how do you think anti-intellectual attitudes impact society? So probably I will share first my opinion on this matter, and whoever wants to contribute to the discussion can follow up. So for me, in my humble opinion, anti-intellectual attitudes really impact society, even in the way how we use social media, how how we see how we use them, right? So probably TikTok, in nowadays Instagram, people use a lot of time every day to use it. And it's actually an extension of what they believe, because they post something, a content, based on what they agree. They follow influencers based on what they agree. They will not follow whoever does have a differing opinion on them, right? So that's actually what, they are like in a box. People are like in a box wherein they are trained to think this way. So maybe anyone can join the discussion and answer the question, and share your thoughts about how this attitude impact society. The floor is open for any opinion or perspective. Please raise your hand. Okay, who raises up? Oh, Sunshine, I'll go. You can speak now.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the occasion given. I'd say anti-electoral activities would severely bring contagious and systemic impact towards society. I believe that it's due to less attempts by society in converging between the awareness and also the necessity. They misprioritize what they need to put ahead. So I can say that this will severely, in the long term, impact them in a way that they tend to blame everyone else without considering that they are someone to blame in the begin with. So I can say, if we keep prolonging this phenomenon, I would say that the society will less likely find out the way to figure out the keys to end these circular problems. I can say that intellectual will be able to be solved only when the society has somehow surrender to their own interests. I mean, I'm sorry, it's not interest, but to the reality.
Mhm.
Because in my opinion, reality what makes us realize about how to be realistic, not being idealistic.
Yeah.
Because okay, it's a little bit paradox, because when we tend to be realistic, we try to be blind, even though we are intellectual, even though we're truly knowledgeable of the facts. However, due to the backgrounds we have, due to the severe economic conditions we have that suppress us to act like know nothing about the facts. So
Yeah.
I can say there are a lot of factors in using this kind of attitude. And yeah, I think that's my first comment.
Yep.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
but I just have a quick comment about and you said earlier, correct me if I'm wrong. You said
Mhm.
earlier anti-intellectualism or this
Mhm.
attitude just be resolved if people will have no interest. Is that did you said that earlier, right?
Uh, yeah, I mean, like, um, yeah, when they finally give up on
Yeah,
always defending their interest.
yeah, I
Okay.
get you. But do you think people would because I think humans are self-interest driven. Like
Okay, yeah. Okay. Okay,
yeah,
that's
do you
one
think
of the most famous economic theory. I mean, like, everyone act based on their own interest, right? Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So
Maybe we
that's
can
why I
talk
told
about
you
that.
it's paradox. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Sunshine. And
Okay.
next one is Haras. Maybe you can tell me about your thoughts about the question.
I have a question because I don't know. I'm still a kid, so I don't know what's anti-intellectual attitude.
Yeah. Okay. I defined earlier, probably you just went in, right? You just harassed, maybe you just went in the discussion. So I defined that's the definition of anti-intellectualism. So it is an attitude that you hate reason, you hate what the experts are saying because it's not convenient for you. But you are just driven by your emotions, by your feelings. You are not acting based on facts and probably on logic. So example for this, right? During the pandemic, the experts are saying all of us needs to be vaccinated, right? All the doctors, all the experts in the healthcare industry, healthcare sector are saying that we need to not go out of our homes and be vaccinated so that we can the virus will not be spread. But in the internet, they say that ginger, ginger or I don't know what kinds of vegetable it is that it will help to prevent you obtaining COVID. So it is not scientifically proven, but since you appeal to emotion and to fear that you will have that pandemic, you will have that virus, you will believe on that you just need to drink ginger tea so that you will not get the virus. I hope you get my point, Haras. Do you get what I'm trying to point out?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I get it.
All right. Do you have a question other
No,
than all right, thank you.
thank
Okay,
you.
well, let's move to the next one. Putri, you have any question or thoughts about the matter?
Hi, hello.
No.
So glad to be back to the discussion. Actually, it's maybe about 2 or 3 months I didn't join OTA discussion, but tonight I think the topic is very interesting, so I have to join, and I'm glad that you bring this uh to the discussion tonight. And my thought about how I think about anti-intellectual attitudes impact the society. In my opinions, this is very impactful in a bad ways. So the impact is very negative. Why? Because I think the people who have anti-intellectuals have a low self-esteem, and they tend to playing safe. So I think that is not what they want, but just because they have a lack of knowledge, and also they don't want to acknowledge themselves to understand what the situation. So that's why they just follow what the media said without thinking critically. So I think uh, our people, mostly in Indonesia, after the electoral of the presidents, I see there is a lot of Indonesian people who didn't see the debate of the president candidate, so they don't have time to think critically. They don't have the skeptical thinking, and they don't want to know is the vision or the mission from the president candidate is relevant to the society right now. So that's why I personally think that anti-intellectual is very have a bad impact for the society. And I think as a scholar and also academician, we need to try to mitigate this anti-intellectual by acknowledge our people about the impact of anti-intellectual in the futures. Because I see right now there is a lot of content in social media that try to brainwash the people, and they give misleading information. So that's why people just believe what they see and what they want to see, and they don't have time to trying to figure it out. This is real or this is hoax. They just follow what they want to see, and they just believe it. So I think that's all. Thank you for your attention, and I will give it back to the Magel.
Yeah, thank you, Putri, for your insightful perspective. I agree that we need critical thinking. That we should just just root on our emotions to choosing candidates. Probably look on their policies, right? But that's the reality on elections and how people see elections as just entertainment, right? I think that's how most of people see it nowadays. So I think let's here for the last three of you are raising their hands. Farah, I don't know what's the name of Owi and Gisang. These are the last people that will speak on this matter. Fira, please.
Okay, thank you so much for the time. So, for the questions, how do you think anti-intellectual attitudes impact society? I think the same way as Miss Putri before, while it's kind of like explain when the people with that kind of attitude showing how not ready they are with the idea of moving to the better place, as if like trying to start it with a better life. As we know, in Indonesia right now, we kind of like living in a chaotic time where a lot of people tend to share the same sentiment with in the term of like, I don't know, like sameness, where I don't know, they just want everything to be easy, but not really want to try to like try harder,
Yeah.
and didn't show like what Miss Putri said, the critical thinking that that really need in a current time. And also the impact, I think, like when a lot of things give an impact to the society when we kind of like having that kind of thought. So yeah, it's really give a bad impact. So I hope it just a lot of people in Indonesia open their mind,
Yeah.
especially to choose our our leader. And I think that's all that I can say right now. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you, Fira, for your for sharing your part. I'll get back to you. Let's just finish these other participants that are raising their hands. Next, can you state your name? Uwi Uwi. Like, how do you, what's your
No. Yeah.
and your opinion?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Actually, I'm not going to give like kind of opinion or comment, but more into question because this is something new for me. Um, my question is more into, like, for example, right now I feel like brain drain. So when someone start talking or initiate kind of discussion that, you know, the topic is quite hard, like make me think. I feel like I try to avoid it. But normally I like to think. I mean, like, yeah, my brain is working, but to some extent, like I feel it's already hard. Life is already hard. So sometimes I need to relax my mind, and I prefer to not to, involve in the discussion that make me think a lot. Do you think that it is kind of anti-intellectual attitude as well? That's my question.
Okay, very very interesting question. Like, I hope I can give justice to your inquiry. I will try my best to answer your question. I think so. I think it's part of the anti-intellectual culture, and I'm not blaming people who are anti-intellects or anti-intellectuals, because I think they are just the cause. They are the effect. Rather, they are the effect of the, the social structure that those people, there are people who are preserving this for sure, right? This, the reason why that's why people do not like how to engage in discourse, why they do not watch news, why they don't like to be informed on key topics in society. I think there is probably a reason why people are acting like this. It's not something that we should blame them, but rather probably we can enlighten them. We can talk with them civilized, in a civilized manner, because probably people do not like to talk politics because knowing how toxic this topic is, right? Like, to some extent you are wrong. Like, we are going into, this campism. Like, you are this in the camp A, we are at the camp B, and these people are, back and forth. They are throwing mud in each other, when in fact, like, probably we can see the commonalities between both of our camps, and try to look how can we resolve social issues, because whether or not you support number one, number two, or number three, all of you are experiencing the same challenges that Indonesia is facing, right? Why not talk about it? Like, how can you resolve those issues? So I think this is a communication skill, rather than looking at or blaming anti-intellectuals, because they are also a product of the society that we are preserving. So we need this is not easy. We cannot fix this overnight, right? So I think I do not know the concept of brain drain for now, but I think that's what I can say for now. And probably your question can be more um would be answered in the next parts of this discussion. Thank you. um did you get my point? What's your name? Uwi Uwi.
That's my fake name. Don't
All right.
worry. Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you.
But did you get my point? I hope you.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, sure. And then probably last one, Gisang.
Well, I think a lot has been said,
Yeah.
so I just running out of things to say. But as I had already raised my hand, I just want to tell that anti-intellectual is very dangerous for our future, I think, because they can influence many people to be like them. And as there are so many of them also active in social media, it strengthens their capabilities in influencing. So I think to solve this problem, the first thing that we can to improve is the knowledge of our people. So the government need to fencing the education of people in our country, of course. And as we know that most of our people is in lower middle class, so it's very important to government advancing their education so they can avoid the negative influence or something that anti-intellectual share. I think that's all my thought.
Yeah, thank you, Gisang, for your remarks. I think someone's still raising his hand, or we can move forward. But by the way, nice. Okay, Jawid, go on.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Uh, my name is Muhammad Javed. I would like to add something to the anti-electoral club. Uh, I think this idea affects more those countries which where the literacy rate of people or uneducated people is high. It has a negative effect on that society because during a campaign or election, the candidates they give a very good promises to the people, but after election, when they reach to the power, in reality they present something else. It has a wrong or negative impact on practicing democracy in a particular society, especially in those society which the people are the literacy rate or the education rate in that society is low. Not many people are not educated, but in advanced country, if you see that the society in Europe, USA, those people they know the background of the candidates. They know what he or she was before and what he or she did before because they have a full access to the social media and they follow news and they care about their future and what the candidates is promising or what during election they can analyze because of their knowledge because of their practicing of that democracy in that country the it will affect those country which is advanced in terms of knowledge technology economy in practice they have a long history of practicing of democracy.
Yeah, okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Jawid. You still have something to say? Go on.
No, thank you.
All right, all right. Thank you, Jawid. That's actually insightful too, because you mentioned about education, you mentioned about democracy in particular. And this is the first time that was mentioned here. And I think yeah, flawed democracy at its best have really something to do with anti-intellectualism. So maybe we can talk about it later on. But yeah, let's move forward because we only have an hour left. So probably later those who can speak up can still speak up. So to move forward, the manifestation of anti-intellectualism can be seen in various aspects and can impact individuals, communities, and institutions. So it can it cannot only negatively impact one people, but you know, the entire communities, the entire society. It can be affected by anti-intellectualism because people might think that this is normal, right? And those norms can be interpreted in various ways, and it would be the accepted reality by those people. This is my personal thoughts. I declare here that we need to combat anti-intellectualism to preserve rational discourse, promote democratic values, and address social challenges. So I said earlier that in order to preserve rational discourse, we need to make it a culture that having discourse on critical matters should be normalized. Like talking about politics, talking about religion, talking about what else? Culture, and trends. It should be normalized. Like it should be talked about every day with your friends, inside your house, because the thing is, I think anti-intellectualism is most commonly it starts when people are not talking about it like in a casual manner. So if it's the first time that you heard about this, you will not talk about it because you have no idea about it. And probably the first ideas that you will hear from it are that will develop your position about the subject matter. And the second one, democracy, all right, it promotes democratic values if we are against anti-intellectualism. As far as one of you said that we need to have we need to talk about different issues in our society, and it is the root, it is the backbone of democracy if we will keep on talking about it and address social challenges. For sure, some people are criticizing the government constructively, but some people will say, oh, why are you keep on complaining, why not just follow, be obedient, like. So that's actually some problems that is inherited in anti-intellectualism, because people will just see you as you are just ranting, you are just complaining, but you're not providing solutions. So I think most of the people think that way. So moving forward, anti-intellectualism impact on society. I pointed out some bullets here. So less trust in experts. So probably in the media, probably some people will not believe it, because experts are, most of the times they are the one that is being interviewed in the media, and probably they think that they are paid by those anti-intellectuals. They think those experts are paid. They are also representing the oligarchs or the elites, some sort of that ideas, which is, I think, it is also important to be critical on them. But dismissing everything that they say is also, probably would fall under anti-intellectualism. And then slower progress in thinking and exploration of ideas. They don't acknowledge science or logic or reason. Probably during the pandemic, right? There are a lot of hoaxes in social media that you drink ginger tea, you will now be immune to COVID-19. So they would believe that because they love their grandmother and their grandmother told them that. So it is subject to emotions and feelings. It's not really based on, on science or in logic. And then the next, promotion of misinformation and ignorance. We are now in the age of new media. Actually, we have an information overload now, that there are more false compared to truth. So the thing is, we need to balance, and we need to know how to look, what's the false and what's the truth on this matter. More social divisions, as you can see in the elections, there are several camps, right? Like, people in the camp A will think that in the camp B and in the camp C they are wrong. What is what is right is we are here in the camp A. They will dismiss any ideas that are coming from other camps. So that's the thing about social divisions, because it is dividing society based on probably um those enlightened and those who are not open to new ideas, probably those anti-intellectuals. And then less emphasis on importance of education. So they would not recognize science. They would see some programs in the university as, oh, um it is not that important compared with engineering or go on in the medical field, because you're just taking philosophy, you're just taking arts and sciences. So probably it's not that important. You will just fall in the cheap labor market, because in this kind of anti-intellectual society, they don't really give much importance to this social sciences or other programs in the university, because they think that it doesn't generate much impact to society, because that's how not valuable they think philosophy is, like political sciences or in other social sciences courses, probably most of the times. So yeah, there's a question here I put in the slide. What are the other effects of anti-intellectualism? There are pros. but does it have cons? This is actually I'm trying to think and thinking at the best of my capacity what are the um oh no, I'm wrong. I'm wrong here. There are cons of anti-intellectualism, but does it have pros? So I'm asking if there are positive side of anti-intellectualism. Actually, I'm wrong with that statement. So significant events or topics which anti-intellectualism have impacted on. So I think these are the major events in recent history that anti-intellectualism has an impact during the pandemic. I already stated some examples. And then second one is climate change. People are not really acknowledging climate change despite there's already flooding here in Jakarta. Despite that the earth is now having global warming. Like it's now hot, right? Nowadays even it's in December or November where it doesn't usually need to be hot, it's hot. So some people are not saying that climate change is true because they might have their personal reasons to believe with social justice. There's a lot of examples to be given, cultural trends, and we will focus on electoral politics. And I saw a quote by Karl Marx, one of the famous philosophers. Reason has always existed, but not always in a reasonable form. So probably there are some reasons that are rooted in, feelings and subjectivities. So maybe some of you would want to share. Are there other effects of anti-intellectualism? The floor is open. Maybe anyone can raise their hands to be heard. Yeah, they say that Jakarta is the fastest sinking city. Yeah, yeah.
Can I
Sure.
say something? But
Oh, sure, sure.
okay. Yeah. So I cannot think about climate change.
Mhm.
Wait, let me think again. Yeah. So I cannot think that to some people they deny the climate change fact because perhaps they also have kind of interest. They even try to influence their audience, like, okay, climate change is not real, because they have an interest. For example, as we know, like fossil fuel, for example, it is one of the major cause for the climate change. So companies that get benefit from the existing of the fossil fuel companies, they tend to, create campaign or public relation that if they cannot access for the whole of this time, I mean, in the earth, at least they can deny. Yeah, just sharing, like, I cannot think when you explain about anti-intellectualisms related to climate change, I cannot think that, okay, yeah, I think beside like lazy to think, some people just deny because they have an interest.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I actually added climate change here as a topic that anti-intellectualism is present because I think there is an election in the United States way back the early 2000s, and there's a candidate there, Al Gore. His name is Al Gore, and he has a movie, Inconvenient Truth. It is about climate change, global warming, and some some people in the other parties are saying climate change and global warming is just a political agenda to raise, to raise fear among the people so that they would, they would support that candidate. That's actually how anti-intellectualism discourse in the United States paved the way for climate change. But at the same time, there are also some people that are saying climate change is just natural because as the planet is getting older, it is natural that it will raise its temperature. So that's the reason of, the casual warming of the earth, not necessarily because of our actions not to save the planet. So actually that's how anti-intellectuals look at climate change and other topics on the environment. Ismail, you have something to say? Go on.
Okay, I'd like to give a brief comment to the previous opinion. I'd say that I've been wondering that this reminds me of like 5 years ago, where the discussions about post-truth has been like raising so much. So I can say, after revealing every single layers of premises, reasonings, and arguments from both of you, I was like, okay, so what is the truth behind the truth? Okay, so there should be someone playing there, that I mean, like organizing, like, or being maintaining this orchestra that somehow guide us. Okay, so in my perspective itself, those people try to be ignorant because they are indirectly impacted, or they
Yeah.
still feel safe with that. So that's why there's no significant awareness on that matter. But I would say to respond your questions about the pros. Yeah, you asked, if I'm mistaken, you asked about the pros, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there should be the pros. I mean, like, what's happening in our society is like, okay, the most noticeable difference, I mean, like, something that actually reflecting in education and entertainment is like education refers to number one, and entertainment is like to number two. Okay, so there is a dichotomy. There is an attempt to separate two discussions. Okay, where in fact what we need to do is to combine them, is to make them like intertwined lines. So I can say separating these two make people, uh, those um, those people with no intellectual capability will always prioritize entertainment values. Well, I can say that this is not totally negative, because those who are intellectual need to, how to say, empower and engage those with anti-intellectual values. So that's why education or something related to intellectuality can be accepted by those with lower capabilities to absorb all the insights. So this is actually the problem, and so many people blame Anis because his way of campaign is that too educative, too much academic values, so it cannot be absorbed by those people, especially living in the grassroots areas with no
I get you.
certain levels of education and academics. So this is actually a good rebound evidence, where people, especially those who claim themselves as educated people, they should provide some mechanisms. So that's why I mean, like, those people who prioritize entertainment can figure out some educational values in entertaining way. Okay, I think that's my goal.
Yeah. Yeah, I get your point, and I hope everyone can understand what Ismail said. Like, I get the point why probably there are candidates in the election, like, even though they are the most credible. I'm not saying this is number one, okay? But that's what you said. That's the name you said.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
In general, probably there's an academician or probably a very intelligent person that probably based on merits, they are good. They are probably PhD graduates. They are probably, doctor, professor, what do you know? So in Indonesia, they add titles to their names, right? So, but the thing is, if they speak to the commoners would not understand their rhetoric because they are speaking on an ivory tower. They are speaking in a very academic way that the commoners or the nasi
Okay.
goreng vendor in Pasar
Yeah.
not understand, right? So that's actually the thing. Like communication is still a skill. Like how could these elites, not elites, how could these candidates would, you know, let their ideas be absorbed by the masses, by the farmers, by the working class, right? So actually, this is not a one. This issue on anti-intellectualism cannot be fixed in one night, but this is
Sure.
um structural problem perhaps. More and anyone who wants to speak about anything regarding this subject
I
about
have a follow-up question.
okay, go
So
ahead.
I cannot think that the person is very intellectual, then I think he should also consider the audience as well.
Yeah.
So if let's say the audience probably cannot digest, as intellectual, they have the responsibility as well to make it easier to digest, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree on that. That's what that's the thing Ismail is trying to point out. So probably those candidates that are winning the election every year, every electoral year, probably they are the people that the electorates, the voters can see themselves to them. Because why would the people vote for someone that they cannot even understand, even though they have good policies, good platforms, right? So people would vote. This is my opinion. You can counter my arguments, okay? Probably people are seeing the people that they are voting as themselves too, because they would not vote for someone that will not represent them, right? So if a religious person will not vote someone that is probably does not believe in a religious being, or that's not acknowledging religion as primary, as an important thing, or probably a person will not vote a candidate who is not, you know who is not taking part in the education reforms. If they will not vote someone who doesn't take part in education reforms if they have huge pride in their education priorities. So if you're living in a poverty line, and then you're just eating once a day, you will vote for someone who promises that will give free lunch, right? It makes sense. So I don't know. That is just my thoughts. Maybe Jawid can add something. Go on, Jawid.
Yeah, I would like to add something. Uh, the who is running for elections, I think they know they should know the history of their audience. Who are the audience to whom they speaking? That's the main point. Before that, it depends on the society. If we consider, like for example, see the election which is happening uh, in India. If you see India, uh, in India, the candidates were supported by the Bollywood actors. The win is 100% sure. He can win the election. There is no doubt because the society they trust more the actors in the as compared to religion. But if you see to the other aspects of the people, like if you see the other society who are more religious, follow the religion, the candidates try to find the supporters who is a religious leader, supporting by religious leader. For example, some Arab countries, some Muslim countries, and that's how the candidates can collect votes from their supporters or from their own. That was my point.
Yeah, it makes sense, Jawid. Thank you for your opinion. Next, last one, Putri, so that we can move on to the next slide. Go on.
All right, thank you so much. I would like to tell story, a short story about the impact from the anti-intellectualism that I feel it's really, really real. So, when pandemic hits the world in 2020 to the 2022, I become a once of the member of task force for pandemic COVID-19 in Indonesia. So we work so hard to mitigate the impact of the pandemics to getting worse. So we try to regulate the policy, how people cannot go to outside the city, or if they want to take a flight, they have to test themselves for the COVID, like test antigen or anything. So they have to vaccine themselves, right? But at the first time the policy announced to the public tends to uh, reject the policy. So they critics the governments, they critics the people who have uh to write the policy, because they think that it's hard to understand, or they the the policy change every 2 weeks, so they confuse and they have a panic. They feel like they are cannot go anywhere, so it's very stressful. And also pandemic fatigue hits everyone. So even though in the behind the scenes, uh the intellectual teams, I mean, like, we are researchers, academicians, we try to brainstorming every night, even until the midnight, how to prevent the pandemic effect uh, from getting worse. So we have to stop this, because this is have a big impact to everyone in Indonesia. So even though we still have rejection from the public, we still working. And the result is the pandemic in Indonesia can solve within 2 years. This is the real reason why anti-intellectualism is very bad for the society. But in other side, we cannot judge them. Like I said before, this is kind of lack of knowledge or low literate rate in our people. Not because they want to be anti-intellectualism. No, this just because they doesn't know how to act. So the first come up is rejection. So that's, and the second one is in electoral process from the last electoral for the presidents. There is a fun story. So there is one family have 4 member that can choose the president. They choose the president number 2, which is the have almost the winner. We can say that it's winner from the quick count. But 2 days after the electoral vote, they read they watch from the TV the news about the price of rice is getting rise. So from 12,000 to 14 or 16,000 per kg. So they just like, I choose number 2, but now everything is pricey. So I feel disappointed. So I asked them, so why you choose him if you don't like the policy that comes up after the electoral process? They just say, because I like him, because he can dance, because he looks funny, because everyone choose him. So I have to follow the others. I don't want to be someone who doesn't have friends that choose others candidates. So they vote for the president because of that, not because of, oh, I like this candidate, because the vision is related to me, because I want something new from these candidates, or because I like this candidate because he is very charismatic. But they choose because he is he is so cute, he is kind, he is crying in the debate, he's saying thank you, he's forgiving. So it's so funny, but it's happened to our people. So it's I just want to show this as a example of the situation from anti-intellectualism in our society. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you again, Putri, for sharing your perspective and examples too for on our topic. So I think we need to move forward. There are a lot of interesting topics. I haven't even mentioned about social justice, even if I put it here in the bullets. And yes, anti-intellectualism really have a huge impact on social justice, especially about, I think in Indonesia there's a lot of controversies surrounding human rights, right? So I think some people are thinking those are not important things, those in the past, we need to move on. So something like that. Those anti-intellectuals are saying that those are made up. Those abuses are just make up to make controversies, to make this candidate look bad. So something like that. And then at the same time, cultural trends, right? In the yes, I think one of you stated earlier that in his country, they use celebrities, right? They use some religious preachers to, to get some votes. Because right, it's effective. We are not questioning the ability of how they lead the country, but this campaign strategy is really effective to get some votes. So you dance in TikTok, you do Instagram live, you tweet in X some, some funny things. So that is how you get votes right nowadays. Because if you are really so intellectual in front of the masses, in the television, you keep on saying some boogeyman words that cannot even be understood by the public, by the general public. So it makes no sense to be an intellectual. So they'd rather look um, funny. They'd rather look cute, so that the people would, be entertained. So moving forward, let's now focus on electoral politics. Okay, so that this is actually our topic, but to have a connection between society and politics, I already discussed the precursor of our subject for today. So moving forward, the question is, what about its effect on electoral politics? So based on my perspective, these are the effect of anti-intellectualism to electoral politics. So I already put some answers here, which I think if you want to add later, you can, but probably I will explain why I put it here. So political polarization, I think when you say political polarization, um, some of the candidates are in total opposites, in the opposition or in the administration camp. So most of the time, there are a lot of social division. Like people are now debating which is which. Like it's a black and white politics, right? Black and white. Like it's only have two sides of the coin. So it's like you're supporting a football team. Like I'm supporting Barcelona. I'm supporting Real Madrid. So if you don't support Real Madrid, you are other. You don't belong to my friends. You don't I'm not in good terms with you. That is what happens with political polarization. So if you're in the other team, you're supporting another candidate, we are not friends because um you're speaking too much nonsense. So that is how political polarization is. Then at the same time, non-evidence-based politics, may it be on political campaign strategies or policies. So most of the time, since people are now talking about more on personality and not on policies, they would stick to this strategy. They would rather dance. They would rather throw candies in the people because it will get some votes. They would rather have they will get they would print some shirts with their faces in front, right? And they throw it to people like they are some sort of celebrities, right? So if people like that, it is working. The campaign strategy in that sense is working, right? That's I think that is evident to third world countries perhaps. It's also happening in my country, in the Philippines. That's what happened in 2022. That's why Marcos won. That's actually some experts are saying the campaign of Marcos is quite the same with Prabowo. And then the next is mistrust in media. So people would now start being skeptic in the media that is not making sense, that the media is, some run by the oligarchs because it's not aligned with the emotions and feelings of the people. It's not aligned with the candidates that they are supporting. So some candidates are even blaming the media. You are anti me. you Jakarta Post, you are anti me. Why I will not grant an interview on you, or Compass, something like that. So with that statements, people are now mistrusting the media, and media is the source of information, right? So I think that's the point of why anti-intellectuals not only mistrust the media, but all the mainstream in the news, probably in streaming platforms, they mistrust it, but they believe on TikTok. They believe on, some YouTube channels by some social media influencer with 50,000 subscribers, rather than believing in, some expert. And then appeal to emotion over reason, the next. So they would, those candidates who would um be emotional, they would get their emotions, their support, so they would rather choose that candidate over those, the best one. TikTok politics, I think we have talked about it. I think all candidates from 1 2 3 use this TikTok, not only TikTok but social media, because probably most of the youth right now have TikTok, have social media. So, and then TikTok is very short videos. I think the maximum is 3 minutes. The maximum is 3 minutes or 2 minutes, I guess. Some of the video are only 30 seconds, and they would rather listen and hear from that rather than reading the newspaper, rather than reading some journals, right, in the online. So that's the thing about the TikTok politics. It is not just actually based on TikTok, but um how the influence of TikTok is, minimizing the attention span of the people. Like, year by year, the attention span of the people is getting little by little. By 30 minutes, our attention is now on something else. So we need to think about this. And then the normalization of ignorance, right? I think here in Indonesia, it's quite common. Even when you are speaking English, oh, you're so smart, right? Speaking in English. Are you from are you from a rich family? Something like that, right? It's smart shaming. And sometimes when you're in the class and then you raise your hand, and then you're explaining things, you're talking too much, then your classmate will bully you. Oh, you know too much. So it's kind of, the smart shaming is quite common, right? In this kind of society. That's why normally being ignorant is fine, like it's normalized. But if you're smart, that's kind of a negative thing. I'm not saying it's really a negative, but in their perspective, they are like bastardizing they are like bastardizing being intelligent. Like, if you're speaking too much in class, if you're writing a very political post on social media, they will react ha ha ha, because you're speaking too much, and then you're not even a politician, something like that. So that's my thoughts. Those are my thoughts about the effect of anti-intellectualism on electoral politics. Maybe we can open the floor about this topic. Can you relate our topic on anti-intellectualism to the recently conducted elections? Provide reasonable opinions without biases, I hope. That this is not a debate on which candidate is the best out of three, but we will look at it, in a manner that anti-intellectualism is the topic. Maybe anyone? Let me see the chats. The floor is open. You can raise your hand. Okay, Nia. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I just want to share a bit about my feelings of this. It's all right that anti-intellectualism is really effect to our elections politic, and they are usually stubborn and opinion. They always forcing their ideas on the people around them to follow the same things as them. Also spamming content on social media because It feels this divide often leads the conflict of opinion with those who oppose with it. And one of my friends, not one, it's actually a lot of my friends, they are also share a lot of video and things about the elections, like the TikTok politic, something like that, with long captions and bad mounting other presidential couples. They are very emotional, and it's actually also bother me a little because I don't know how to respond. And we know the truth, but we have no energy to telling the truth because sometimes it's very difficult to deal with it unless we provide the fact that can really prove the truth. But we need to like the spam also or buzzer of the truth to shut out the delusions of lies, but it takes a lot of energy. So yeah, that's really impactful to Indonesian election, I think. That's one of the reasons why the anti-intellectualisms like stay and a lot, because the intellectualism persons can how to say like uh can uh I mean like yeah, maybe Mr. Sunshine can help me about to explain it.
Sampai ke Malang beraktivitas terus. Ini
Yeah,
baru
that's what I mean.
tidur.
Yeah, go on, Ismail, if you want to follow up something.
Anti-intellectualism like stay and a lot because the intellectualism persons can
Yeah, Ismail, go on. If you want to follow up something on what Nia said.
No, I'm like still a bit okay. I just cannot describe comprehensively. What I caught is everyone can claim that they belong to the silent majority, regardless of which or who the presidential candidate they choose. Okay, they can. Yeah, I do agree in a way that sometimes it's totally mentally exhausting to talk about, to defend something that it will be at the end pointless, since we're living in the era of uncertainty. I think we've been living it since we were born. We've been living in uncertain conditions. Okay, but
Oh, I think Ismail stopped. Someone is prohibiting him to speak. Oh, so
Hijack.
just to follow up from Ismail and Nia, I think yeah, it's really yeah, I hear you, Nia, from what you said, that it's getting too much energy, right? To explain things, right? To the specifics.
but I think
Oh, Ismail, wait, I will mute you first because I'm speaking. All right. So I think I get you, Nia, when it's getting energy from people, like to speak on such matter to people that are not even that do not even want to listen to you, right? It's hard to explain to things to close-minded people that are not even um have the open arms to embrace new ideas. So I think that's actually a communication skill too, because sometimes if an intellectual will talk to a commoner, perhaps, example me, I will vote. I no no. I will talk with a specific person that, oh, you're wrong. Oh, in that entrance of what you will say, they will not listen to you already because you are antagonizing them, right? So I think it's a communication skill, really, because if you say, I'm here to educate you, I'm here to enlighten you, so it already sounds condescending. It already sounds too arrogant for them. So I think we need to look at our commonalities. There's a lot of common things among people where you can start talking about. It doesn't necessarily mean to talk about politics first. Like example, you need to share your struggles. Like, oh, here in Indonesia, like it's too hard to get a decent job, for example. So that you can talk about it. It doesn't need to be too much political, but in the sense that you can talk about political policies, that what is the issues here. You can talk about some bills in the DPR, those hot issues. It doesn't need to be political at first, because probably they would feel that you think that you are too superior, that you are the tool to teach them, to enlighten them. So because no people in their, no people, I think there's no person who's willing to look inferior. And that's the thing, you can talk about many things. It doesn't need to be too political. Probably you can talk about K-pop if you want, just to be an appetizer or something. You can talk about, some music, some things that you can be start with, and then you can it's a communication skill at the end of the day. Maybe I can hear from Sophie. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, sorry for joining late, but I found it really interesting that you're bringing up this topic, even though the election is already over. And I agree with Ms. Dania about how exhausting we could be reacting or responding other people close-minded like we have said before as well. I think what makes social media is so chaos nowadays because intelligent people barely commenting on social media unless it's very important. So all these comments that we see running around through our social media is people just like to debate. So people just having fun with when they see situation is brutally chaos. So they like it. It's actually fun for them. But people who actually care about the politics, about the for the data in Indonesia or any other election in other countries, they're not really having time for typing something good in social media. That's why we see like a lot of dumb people on social media. And then the second one is, I think to decrease this, we need to able to having a middle ground to agree to disagree. I believe that all of my close friends, even my biological sister, have completely the opposite point of view of politics than mine, and we're completely okay. We try to avoid the conversation, and we try not to talk about it um in our conversation because we know it's gonna end it somewhere that makes us hating each other. I'm sorry if my sentence complicated, but you know what I mean, right, sir? And I also find that what makes me sad about this every election, not only presidential election, but the majority election, we have some pessimistic mental that we always show that, oh, whoever chosen in the future, Indonesia gonna be the same. It's a useless thing to do because our life is not it's not going better. The government or the oligarchy, the businessmen are the one who's getting better. I mean, at some point that's true because we live in capitalism system. But on the other hand, having this kind of pessimistic mental doesn't help anyway. You know what I mean? So even though you use your voice to choose, and you know at the end of the day Indonesia gonna be the same, it's still better than not choosing at all. They're not using your voice at all. I think that's what I tried to say. And it's so sad seeing that a lot of young people that having those kind of thoughts that I completely understand. I try to respect people principle or beliefs, but sometimes when they're voicing out, verbalize it so often on their surroundings and people on their lower their age following the principle as well, it's kind of make me sad. Like, so if you don't want to do something, then so who's gonna make it? You know, even though it's we are so desperate at the moment, but having nothing to do, it's also it's not gonna make us even better. So it makes us even worse. I think that's what I try to say. But you know what I mean, right, sir? I'm sorry. I think I I talk so complicated here.
No. It was an insightful perspective, Sophie, and that's why in my initial discussion in this topic, I laid down some key components of the society and what is its relation with anti-intellectualism. I did not go to the electoral politics when I start this discussion because I think that it is ingrained. The issue of anti-intellectualism is ingrained in society, and it's not only on in the political scene, but it's on the structure, right? I've told before that in the classroom setting, like you gotta some of you some smart people are gonna be smart shame for speaking up, and even it boils down into the real world wherein people voicing out their concerns to the government are probably would be laid down as some nuisance because it is in the fabric of the society that the anti-intellectual thing, the issue on anti-intellectualism is imprinted. It's not just actually happening on the electoral scene, but it's in the fabric of the society. And I have something to say, but I forgot. I think I just I was just drawn by some of your ideas, but yeah, I think we need to move forward because it's now 15 minutes before we end this discussion. And probably in the conclusion afterwards, maybe some of you will talk about your insights. Moving forward, so I just laid down the manifestations of the anti-intellectual character of Indonesia. So the prevalence of fake news and hoaxes. So most of the people, particularly in the electoral period campaign, are using fake news, right, to misinform people so that they would spread propaganda and let them vote their desired candidate. And then at the same time, emphasis on populism over policy. I think we all know that President Jokowi Widodo actually have a very high trust rating. We cannot deny it even though that we don't like him on a personal note. Probably some of you don't like him, but we cannot deny that he has a very high trust rating in the per the research firms as concerned. So I don't know what's the reason behind this. Probably most of the people are very much contented with these policies. I'm not saying there are some are not, but actually the facts on ground. That's the facts on ground that a lot of people likes Jokowi. I think even there are some sector of society in Indonesia that is really so loyal with Jokowi that they would end up supporting number two because his son is there. So it's actually an emphasis on populism, not only about populism but also about, I think Indonesia is so regionalistic, right? It is so they vote some. I'm not saying all in general, but some of them vote because he's Javanese, he's from Sumatra, so probably they stem from that ethnicity card and sometimes even identity. Oh, he's a he's a religious Muslim, so I'm gonna vote for him. He's a Christian, so I'm a Christian, so I'm gonna vote for him. So sometimes people are using that representation card over reason. They don't look over what is he going to do, regardless what is his religion, regardless where is he coming from. I don't care if he's from the most northern or southern island of Indonesia, as long as if he or she even if it's even if even if it's a woman. Most commonly, women do not participate much on politics, right? But I'm happy that nowadays women representation is growing, so I think that's on the positive note. But sometimes people are using this identity card, rather than a reason. So that is kind of, also my manifestation of anti-intellectualism of the country. It's not only in Indonesia, it's a pattern in the all over the globe, perhaps. But of course, in when we talk about the particularities, the anti-intellectualism in United States is different, of course, from Indonesia, because the challenges and the issues are different. But the subject, the issue on anti-intellectualism is not only happening in Indonesia, because probably I think most of my friends are, disencouraged and disappointed within the elections. That, oh my god, like, why I am born here in Indonesia. Most of my friends are like most of my friends are like that, because they are so much disappointed with the election, with the elections result. They are looking at Indonesia as the worst country on earth. But the thing is, every country has its challenges, right? In the Philippines, we have Marcos. That's the son of the dictator, but we elected him convincingly on 2022. So, the anti-intellectual problem is not only here in Indonesia, but it's probably all over the globe, even in the United States. You can see Donald Trump is using anti-intellectualism as, as a base of his campaign, of his conservative policies out there. And even in Thailand, and even in, just in Pakistan, recently conducted elections in Pakistan, it's all a product. I'm not saying it's a product of anti-intellectualism, but, anti-intellectualism plays some role in their electoral proceedings. So at the same time, last bullet, undermining democracy. So sometimes, those people who are speaking the truth, those who are speaking facts, are sometimes are being threatened by the government. Sometimes, the elites are threatening them because, they are probably saying something that is against them. So that means that, um weaponizing anti-intellectualism is against democracy, because we need to have exchange of ideas, like here, what is happening here in OTA, here in OTA English online discussion. Because if, example, one of you is against me, right? Example, only one of you is contradicting my arguments, and then I will get offended, and then remove you I will just remove you in the Zoom, because you are contradicting me. Why are you against my opinion, huh? So that's a microcosm of society, if I will also undermine democracy. But we need to protect democracy, right? So I think every opinion that is probably bound to reason should be accepted. And we need this exchange of ideas, because healthy exchange of reasonable ideas are, the bulwark of a healthy democracy. So maybe, just a quick one, 5 minutes. Maybe, some of you may share some manifestation of anti-intellectualism here in Indonesia, probably, or any where you are from. Probably if you're some countries. Anyone? So if none, I will now proceed to conclusion, so that probably if there will be still time left, this will be a free open discussion for everyone. So conclusion, so that we can be done and we can open the discussion if there's still time. We need to combat anti-intellectualism, and it will be never easy. So I think that's a clear point. Because in the beginning, I already stated the detriments of anti-intellectualism. And in this discussion, no one even said that there's a positive side of anti-intellectualism. So I think we agree that anti-intellectualism is a bad thing, is a negative thing, and it is a detrimental to society. I think it's a general consensus here, right? So in the age of new media and information overload, uplifting civilized discourse requires to be based on science and logic. So communication skill is a must. We need to speak based on facts, and if you don't agree with someone, it needs to be because of reason, because of logic, not because you just hate the guy. Because oh man, this guy is so ugly. I will just not agree on every statements that he will say. Oh, I will vote for this because he looks like my grandfather. So I think we need to be our decisions should be based on logic and science. And the more simplistic it is, the better. Because sometimes when we are speaking about some academic matter, it's not simplistic. And some ordinary people in the streets will not understand it. But I believe that we can simplify terms. Because, well, you know Sukarno, right? Sukarno is very smart, is very academic man, but he is very popular to the masses that every speeches he makes in Merdeka Square, many people are going there. Even those people who are selling some foods in the street, they are going there. They can understand Sukarno. But that's actually a communication skill. You need to have that sort of that ability to let people understand what you are trying to say. But you don't need to fool people just because this is what they want to hear. You will speak about matters that what is just convenient for them. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we need to simplify terms that is based on reason and science, perhaps. So last thing, political consciousness is necessary. So I'm not saying that politics is only should only be a topic during election season, but politics is every day. Politics is, every part of our life. The moment we ride angkot, there's politics there, right? The moment you pay angkot for 4K rupiah, right? There's a politics there. There is a reason why it's 4,000. So every part of our life, as a citizen here, me as a migrant here, it's probably because there's a policy. There's probably an immigration policy. That's why I can only allowed here to stay for 3 months or 6 months, right? So we cannot remove politics in our lives, because politics is not only about elections, but how can we protect democracy? How can we combat anti-intellectualism is a manner of being involved in democracy, and to be part of a healthy civilized discourse is a must, right? So that we can enlighten and continue to have a fruitful and worthwhile discussion like what we are having here in Ota English, right? So I think that's it. And if I still have time left, I'd be happy if someone would speak up and um add to the conversation. So I think I put a quote here by Noam Chomsky. He said that the general population doesn't know what's happening, and it doesn't even know that it doesn't know. So I think if I also read a quote from somewhere else that if you're knowledgeable, you would think that you still have a lot to know. But if you're an ignorant, you would say that you know everything, right? So I think that's a quote to just to remember. So that's a wrap. Thank you for participating, and I will now head this to Nia to end this discussion. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Magello. Wow, I feel so energized after these discussions. So before, I wanna give a little appreciation for Mr. Magello. Can I share my screen, Mr.?
Glad to join.
I'm sorry. A little bit. Okay. I will take a picture for a moment. Okay, so thank you so much, guys. You all make some great points, and I feel like I learned a lot of this topic tonight. I really enjoy hearing everyone's perspective. Thank you so much for Mr. Magello, who's bringing this topic. And before we end our discussion, let's us take a picture together. Maybe all of the participants who can open the camera, please. Okay, still waiting for Wendy. No, Yanni, Vera. You know what? Okay, thank you. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Wait a minute. Okay, freestyle. 1, 2, 3. Yes. Okay. All right, all done. So before we end our discussion, we have slogan. Tomorrow yesterday we say tomorrow, isn't it, Mr. Sunshine? Okay, if I say Ota
Yeah.
community, you can answer.
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
We say tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
Okay.
Hail Ota.
Yesterday we say tomorrow.
Today we say tomorrow.
Yesterday we say tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jello. See you again in the
Thank
next discussion. See you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
Thank
good rest.
you. See you.
everybody.
Everyone.
Let's spend the weekend.